Coyotes are out. Hi everyone, I want you to meet some friends of mine, Claude and Bernadette, our cultured cultures. My friend Ed runs a website called realdeepdish.com. I'll post a link below to his dough recipe. It's awesome. A little pizza dough, feed Claude and Bernadette, and we're gonna have a good night. We're gonna start with yeast and water. I'm gonna tell you right now, there's gonna be some differences between what I'm doing here and what is in Ed's recipe. Because we are at a higher altitude, flour's a lot thirstier. So I'm gonna increase the water to 1 cup. It's 3/4 of a cup normally. I get roughly close to the flour measurement, and then I add just a little bit more until the texture's right. So let's get started. I need 2 1/4 teaspoons of yeast. And 1/2 teaspoon of sugar. Now that I've got the yeast and the sugar in the bowl, I'm gonna go ahead and add my cup of water. I'm gonna blend this together a little bit, and then we're gonna let it sit for a little bit until the yeast kind of starts to froth. Once Claude and Bernadette's friends, James and Edward, are positively frothing after being unceremoniously dumped into a bowl of lukewarm water, then you can add the oil and salt. That's gonna be 4 tablespoons of oil and 1/2 teaspoon of salt. Positively frothing. Frothing at the mouth. Yeah, that's a little more than half really. That's okay. Like I said, I don't really measure it, but it's good. I just give it a stir, mix up the oil and the salt. Now we just need to add the flour and mix that up. The recipe calls for, I believe, 2 3/4 cups of flour. We're just gonna use 2 1/2. Like I said, high altitude, very thirsty flour. So I'm just gonna dump it in. And I know there's probably better ways to do it, but this has worked for me. I actually leave it a little bit on the wet side, and then I incorporate the rest of the flour while I'm kneading it. To me, that has worked the best in recent history. So it's a little dry. We're gonna add Claude and Bernadette to the party. They can blow this party up. So we'll mix them in, probably a little bit more flour. And start kneading this. And like I said, it's really wet and sticking out, and we'll just add that little extra bit of flour that we need in while we're doing this. 1 light dusting at a time. And this actually works better if you coat your hands with a little bit of oil. Then you're less sticky. So we'll just knead this for a couple of minutes. Supposed to do it for 10 minutes, or as Ed says, until your arms fall off. Just the slightest bit sticky. If you're enjoying our videos, why don't you go ahead and click on that subscribe button? We're trying to get to YouTube's required 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 viewing hours. Every little bit helps. And if this sounds like a great idea for dinner tonight, why don't you go ahead and share this with your friends? Don't forget to mash that thumbs up button. Baby, I need your loving. Any way you want it, that's the way you need it. Any way you want it. At this point, it's been 10-ish minutes. Gonna coat this in a little bit of coconut oil. I cleaned out the bowl. I'm gonna spray this with a little coconut oil. I'm gonna plop this bad boy in here and we'll cover it and we'll let it rise for about an hour or so till it doubles in size. This party is a sleepover party, so we've got to tuck all of them in. Good night, Claude. Good night, Bernadette. Good night, James. Good night, Edward. Good night, Moon. Good night, stars. Good night, boys and girls, wherever you are. So before we go to bed, we can't forget to feed Claude and Bernadette. So I do a mix of rye flour and unbleached flour. So I did 1/8 of a cup flour. I'm going to do 1/8 of a cup of rye flour. Then we're going to add 1/4 cup of water. Put on the lid. Shake it up, baby! We're shaking things up and getting this party started. I'm going to put Claude and Bernadette away for the day and clean off my glasses because got a little on me. Well, well, boys and girls, you can already tell that some stuff has been happening. Well, the dough rose, and it's not quite dinner time, so we're just gonna punch it down. Yeah, so we're gonna let this rise for another hour and come back and we'll make it into our meal for the evening. It's only been about a half an hour, but as you can see, it's all poofed up again. So I think it's time to separate this dough out because this makes 2 pizzas. Ooh, I have an idea. Not only does it make pizza, but it makes garlic bread too. Meanwhile, after feeding Claude and Bernadette, you can see they are very, very happy. We are going to pull it out of the bowl here. Cut this dough into 2 bits, basically. Put half back in the bowl for now. This piece, I think we're gonna make some cheesy garlic bread out of this chunk. Roll this out a little bit. Roll, roll, roll your dough. Alright, how about some garlic butter and some cheese? I'm going to mix in some garlic powder and some onion powder. Yes. I've got some mozzarella cheese. I think we'll pop this in the oven for about 30 minutes or so. Well, shall we see how our bread looks? Ooh, pretty. I'd say they're ready. It's the second to last week of May. I think today's the 20th. And it's been snowing on and off all day. Mike is getting dragged into the house. We're just rolling out dough. My friend Ed sent me this pan, which is amazing. So I have rolled out my dough. I want this to kind of be the size of the pan, so I'm just gonna cut around the edge. So we've cut out our excess dough. A really light layer of cheese on the bottom. And then the pepperoni. Top this with a metric fuck ton of cheese. I almost forgot to show off our delicious pizza. It's time to serve up a couple slices. It is so good. Good morning.